Is this fall going to be the perfect window to buy in Denver? Or will waiting until 2026 pay off more? And for sellers, is it smarter to list now or risk holding out through winter? In this fall housing forecast, I'll cover the current inventory and price trends, how seasonality shifts buyer competition, the strategies sellers need to stand out, and the economic and weather factors that could completely change the market in the next 90 days. Let's kick things off with the most important question. Where exactly does Denver's housing market stand as we head into fall of 2025? To answer that, I want to give you a little bit of a market snapshot so we know where things are at in today's market. So as we head into fall, we've seen our inventory actually drop from about 14,000 homes down to about 12,800 homes, which is totally typical for this time of year. Usually inventory comes down from that summer lull to a more of a fall market where we lose homes each week as we head into the holidays. And so expect there to be fewer options available, but the options that are available typically are sellers that need to sell. Right? They may not be the sellers that, are just testing the market out, but they want to sell for a purpose during this time frame. Also, to put things into perspective from a volume standpoint, we had 3,800 pending sales this last month, and compare that to 7,400 in July of 2020. So there's definitely less homes that are selling and moving nowadays compared to the pandemic. And that all chalks up to that affordability that we've talked about in other videos. So during the busier months of 2025, spring and summer, we've had about 4,500 transactions per month. Compare that to last year's fall, where we had some of the lowest transaction count of the year, around 3,500 homes selling per month. Looking back on the days on market last November in 2024, we reached 48 days on market for attached units and 43 days on market for detached homes. By May of 2025, that dropped about 11 days on average for detached homes. And so homes tend to sell quicker in the springtime. They tend to take just a little bit longer during that fall season. Denver's housing market is entering fall in a really interesting position. We're carrying more inventory than last year this time, but still well below the Great Recessionary levels. The average price in Denver overall for all units sits around $699,000, which is actually down about 1% year over year. But don't let that fool you. Prices moved in waves throughout the year. From January to June, we saw average prices climb from $703,000 to $741,000 before dropping back down this summer. Understanding this pattern is crucial for timing your move correctly. Now that we understand where the market stands today, let's look at what this means specifically for buyers this fall, because there are some genuine opportunities opening up that weren't available even a few months ago. I'm Landon, and I'm a real estate agent here in the Denver metro area. I've been helping people buy and sell homes here in Denver for the last 18 years. So I've heard many people asking the question, should I buy now in the fall, or should I wait until next springtime when we have more options available? And it's a great question, right? Keep in mind it's supply and demand, right? So those two things both matter. Right now, we're seeing supply go down a bit, which is normal heading into the holidays and into fall. And so I do project that will continue to happen. However, buying demand drops off a shelf during the summer lull and then starts to come back just a little bit. And we have a pretty decent fall market from about mid-September to mid-November. And so it's important to think about that as far as, you're not going to be competing with a ton of people. Options will go slightly down, but they're still 33% higher than they were last year. So you've got lots of homes to see still with very, few people that you're competing with at the moment. Also, another thing to keep in mind is rate changes dramatically correlate with market activity. And we just saw rates come down from 7.25 to about 6.5, and that's expected to continue. We've got another rate cut most likely happening from the Fed rate at the end of September, which would most likely help interest rates after that. And so usually when the Fed rate drops, interest rates will go up for about a week, and then they start to come back down lower than what they were. And so it's very market related as well. But that's one thing that we're hopeful for is there's an 88% chance that rates will get cut at the end of September, and then another 44% chance that they'll get cut a second time before the end of the year is what economists are telling us. And so if that happens, if we have 2.25% rate drops by the Feds, that could mean interest rates nearing 6% by the end of the year. Now, nobody really knows if that's going to happen, but that's what the odds are predicting right now and what a lot of economists are predicting. And so I like to follow experts, but keep it in mind that they truly are right 50% of the time. Fall typically has 15 to 30% less buyers than spring. The median days on market are expected to increase to 30 to 45 days by November. So if I'm someone who owns a home and I need to sell that home and buy another home, the fall is a perfect time to do just that. More sellers are able to buy a home contingent on their home selling during the fall season because there's less demand during this time of year. Once you get to the springtime, there's more competition, and that increased buying demand typically means it's harder to do that. And so if you're looking to do a contingent sale, I would highly recommend moving forward in the fall. Also, with the economic uncertainty and everything happening globally, there absolutely could be some people, buyers hesitating despite the improved affordability to get in the market still. If you're a buyer right now, pay attention because timing is everything this fall. Here's the strategic play. If rates stay lower, you have a rare window where affordability has improved and competition hasn't fully returned yet, but it is a balancing act. Wait too long and you risk two things. Either rates climb again or enough buyers return to drive up competition, which would drive up pricing. We're already seeing early signs of increased buyer activity since Labor Day, with open house attendance up significantly these past 2 weekends. While buyers may have some advantages this fall, sellers need to approach this market with a completely different strategy than they would have used just a few months ago. So I've told people for years that fall is historically the second best selling season after February to April. That's number one. And then mid-September to mid-November offers better selling conditions than summer or winter, in my opinion. And average days on market during that time doubles from spring to fall from 11 days all the way up to 40 days last year. And so price reductions may be common as the holidays approach, but that early fall segment is really what you want to capitalize on. So home preparation and staging become more important with fewer buyers, and properly priced homes are still selling within 30 days in most neighborhoods. The biggest shift from spring is timing expectations. And this means your pricing strategy is absolutely critical. The data shows that homes priced even 3 to 5% too high in fall can sit for months, while properly priced homes are still moving within a month in most neighborhoods. The presentation of your home matters more now too. With fewer buyers in the market, you need to stand out. Professional photography, thorough cleaning, and proper staging have a measurable impact on fall sales that isn't as pronounced during the hot spring market when anything sells. So you may ask, what about waiting until spring? That's a calculated risk. If you need to sell in the next 6 months, history suggests the fall market is stronger than waiting until January or February, when buyer activity historically hits its lowest point. The sweet spot is listing by mid-November at the latest before holiday slowdowns take place, which usually start to happen in late November. Keep in mind, if people are trying to get in before the holidays, before Thanksgiving, they want to be under contract on their home by around end of October at the very latest to get their loan through and get closed by the time the holidays come around. Beyond these seasonal patterns, there are some key risks and opportunities on the horizon that could significantly impact both buyers and sellers in the coming months. So let's talk about what could surprise us in the next 90 days. First, mortgage rates remain the biggest wild card. When rates dropped briefly last October, we saw an immediate jump in both activity and pricing. And if rates continue trending lower, expect a surge of buyers returning to the market, potentially eliminating the fall buyer advantage very quickly. On the economic front, most top economists are still predicting marginal growth for Denver real estate, around 2 to 4% annually, which is actually below our historical average of 5 to 7% growth year by year. In real terms, we're down on pricing right now in our market about 1% year over year, but that masks the wave-like pattern that we've seen in the past. From January to June, prices jumped significantly before cooling this summer. There's also the weather factor that impacts Denver more than many markets. An early snowfall or blizzard can drastically reduce showings and market activity for weeks. Last year, we saw a 30% drop in weekend showings after our first significant October snow. And it seems like we always get an October snowstorm at least once in that month. The biggest opportunity right now, it's the mismatch between perception and reality. Most potential buyers are sitting on the sidelines, convinced that prices will fall substantially, while the data suggests Denver's housing remains stable with modest growth. When you combine lower rates with our persistent housing shortage and continued population growth, you get a market that continues to defy national trends. So I have to share with you my personal experience. I've actually moved my family twice in the fall, and we've sold and purchased both times. And so, 4 transactions of experience of working in the fall in a Denver market for myself, I've noticed some things. First, it's easy to overprice your own home because you have so much nostalgia, so many memories. It means so much more to you than the rest of the market. And so I actually made that mistake our first go around, and I had to reduce price a couple times. I do this all the time for other people, but man, when I priced my own home, I had certain value to my home that the rest of the market didn't have. And we saw it in the feedback. And so it's very important to check yourself very well, make sure that you're pricing according to comps and be a little bit more aggressive on the pricing. Also, I think more people move in the fall because it's just a very emotional time of year. You've got the holidays coming, the leaves are changing. You have certain feelings that you don't have in the rest of the year, and you think about home more. The weather starts changing, you're colder, so you spend more time in your home as well. And so for us, it's been, we really start caring about what our home looks like and what it feels like when we're in it more. And during the summer months, we're not in it more. We're outside a little bit more. But during those months in the fall, we tend to really enjoy the indoors a little bit more. And those emotions from the outdoors, from the leaves changing and everything, just for some reason, it creates more appeal on new homes. I think homes show very well in the fall season because of the leaves changing, because of holiday decorations sometimes. There's just a lot of emotion, and homes do sell pretty well in the fall. And so we've done it successfully twice. Both of our homes have sold, and we felt like we got a really good deal when we moved our family during the fall season. So both times we closed in November, just in time for the holidays, and and then saw the market really cool after that. And so timing, again, is so critical to take advantage of the early part of that fall and list your home before that 15th to 20th of October window, so that you can still provide people time to get in before the holidays. So the other reason why I think people start to think about moving a little bit more in the fall is football's back, right? So you got college football, the NFL, you're hosting people a lot of times in your home for watch parties. And a lot of times you realize, from doing that, man, we need a little more space, or you come up with needs because of that. And so there's a little bit more focus on gathering spaces, especially during the holidays too, when you're thinking about hosting extended family and that sort of thing, where space may be an issue as well. So considering all those things, there are lots of reasons to move in the fall and make it happen. And I'm here to help you with that. If you're thinking about buying or selling in the next few months, now is the time to create a strategic plan based on these market conditions. I help clients navigate these exact scenarios every day, and I'm happy to provide personalized advice for your situation. My contact information is in the description below. For a deeper look at where the real opportunities are in Denver right now, watch my next video. What's actually worth buying in 2025 in the Denver real estate market? I break down the neighborhoods, property types, and deals that make the most sense this year. Click on that video now, and I'll see you there.